Graham. I'm back in Los Angeles and ready to do another episode of Straight White Guy Listening. We're going to be talking to Nusrat. She's a lawyer who deals in immigration law. I thought she could really help us understand the current situation. Hey.
Hi.
How you doing, Nusrat?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, come on in.
Thank you. Appreciate it. If you don't mind, I would like to kind of start on a personal level, kind of see how you got involved and your personal story and why you were drawn to helping out people.
Yeah. My parents, both my parents were born in India, but they migrated to Pakistan when partition happened, when India and Pakistan split up. Like, I went to Pakistan a lot as a kid. I've always seen refugees. Going as a kid and seeing a kid on the street who, were the same age and they're in such a desperate state, it's really impactful. You don't forget that. I mean, my parents and their families were refugees. They were fleeing war and violence. I mean, my mom's family especially was pretty well established in India, but they were forced to leave their neighborhood because they're Muslim. My dad, who's not really, he didn't have a college degree, but he worked his way up to become an engineer. But yeah, knowing that they've had to make those choices, have had to leave home, have faced dangerous situations, I identify with my clients a lot and want to help as best as I can.
On the refugee level, Syria is a big one right now, and that's the one that most people hear about. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not necessarily your direct experience, but there's people being displaced all over Europe, and then there's distrust of people coming in, fears of terrorism, and of course now with the administration, their argument is that they're trying to keep America safe. Mm-hmm. But that's changing the whole legal workings of immigration.
Yeah.
I mean, now, just with all that in mind, have you felt the shifts? Can you feel it legally, just on your level?
It's made a huge impact. At the beginning with the travel ban, it made a huge impact. Imagine people that had gone through this entire refugee process. It's a very long process. People growing up generations in a refugee camp, finally getting to the end point of getting their visa and coming to the US and being told, no, you can't come. After all of that, after everything that they have gone through and all of the crazy vetting that's already going on right now, it's based on bigotry and stereotypes of people that are just completely untrue. And practically speaking, the way it's worked is obviously there is a travel ban. Beyond that, there were other internal memoranda within DHS telling people not to take any final actions on any applications submitted by anyone from the 7 countries. It's chaotic. They don't know what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. And it doesn't make sense. It's really impacting people and it's really hurting people. These are human beings it's affecting. There are people being detained left and right. It's happening a lot. People still have legal rights. They still have a Fifth Amendment due process right in immigration proceedings. They don't have full constitutional rights because they're not US citizens, but they have certain protections that are fundamental.
So, I guess for a lot of people who are just born in America, mm-hmm. There's this faceless group of people coming in and trying to take jobs or be violent or disrupt the American way. If there's some specific instances that you know personally to kind of put a face with who are these people trying to come?
Yeah, there was a young woman, I think she was from El Salvador, and she was targeted by, I think it was the Mara Salvatrucha gang, which is a really dangerous gang. Of course, it's one of the 2 really big gangs there. And some gang members took a liking to her and started harassing her, following her. All she wanted to do was go to school, live a normal teenage life, and she just could not do it. Constantly following her around and harassing her until it escalated to the point where, they went to her home, raped her, taped it, to blackmail her. And it's like an initiation thing where people can be, forcibly recruited into a gang. And she didn't want to leave, but she had to, because she would have been killed or had to join the gang. But either way, she would have been subject to really brutal violence. So she had some relatives in the U.S. that helped pay a coyote to get her to the U.S. border, and crossed over. And it's sad when you apply for asylum. It's not like it's like the Holy Grail or something, because when you're a refugee, it's a very different thing. You can't go back to your country. If you apply for asylum in the U.S. and protection in the U.S., you cannot go back to the country where you came from, because that's what you're saying, is that it's unsafe. So you can imagine how hard that would be for someone. I mean, I've met plenty of people that were brought as kids because their parents just wanted them to have a fair shot at getting educated and, having a stable, safe environment to live in. And, finding out when they can't get their driver's license that, wait, why can't I get my driver's license? Why can't I get this job? Why don't I have a social security number? And then just like having to live knowing nothing about the country where you were brought from because you were so young or very little, and then ending up in this situation in the US where it's like, well, I'm American. This is all I know. This is all I've ever known. But the law doesn't recognize you. Immigrants are everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere in this country. And it would be so insane to think that immigrants are rapists and criminals. They're everywhere. They're working everywhere. They're your neighbors. They go to school with you. They're your teachers. They're your doctors. They're people that are working at the restaurants you go to or run the restaurants you go to. It's just talk to them. Just talk to these people on a human level and recognize it's not some big scary blob of taking your job / terrorist / whatever, That's what people forget. You're still a lot luckier than a lot of the world just by virtue of the accident of your birth being in this country, in this legal territory, and what attaches to it. Personally, when we first talked about this, I had some mixed feelings. I was not about you, but to the, white man in general. It's I don't care what the white man thinks. The white man can think whatever he wants. I'm going to live my life the way I want. It's not my job to teach someone. People need to educate themselves. But I guess this is one way for them to do it. Because honestly, especially after Trump was elected, a lot of brown people and minorities were tired. We're tired of having to explain ourselves all the time, tired of having to explain our situations, show how good we are, model minority, all that BS. Just act on the human level. Recognize each other's humanity. Recognize that you have your faults and everybody has their faults. And we're all just trying to get by. Just remember that you're a lot more alike than people you probably have a lot more in common with your immigrant neighbor than you do with someone like Trump. So I guess that's all I can say. It sucks that we're in the situation we're in right now, but one positive, I guess, is that people are paying a lot closer attention and learning a lot more about how complicated all of this is, that it's not as simple as something that drives me crazy is when people say, well, get in line, do things the legal way. It's that's not how immigration is. There's no line, I'm glad that people might be taking the time now to try to understand that, understand it's complicated, and have some empathy for the people that are going through it. So I guess that's one thing I'm hoping comes out of the bad situation we're in right now, is that more and more people are educated and have more empathy for the people that are at the receiving end of immigration policy.